This time, Fashion Sakala kept his promise as he helped Rangers smash the other mob. Welcome back, guys, to Fog Football here for the Spfl review show. Only one league in full flow at the moment. The Scottish Premiership are still in the league phase of the campaign. We're into the split section, as you know, top six, bottom six. The other leagues were all into the playoffs, and we'll address that quickly, but it's fair to say that even though it technically is the old firm that was nothing was on the line, there was no positions on the line, there was no titles on the line, there was not really a lot on the line here, no cups, no nothing, but there was still pride on the line, and it was still probably the most important game of the weekend. And Fashion Sakala, I guess fashion does what fashion does, and I've never seen, this is going to be, I'm trying to pay the guy a compliment here, but I've never seen such a bad footballer be so good. So there you go, Fashion Sakala. That's about the best thing I can say about you. I've never seen such a bad footballer be so good. Now, we've seen the guy being bad, and there's no doubt he can be bad. He can be wasteful. He can be infuriating. But when Fashion Sakala is at his best, I mean, the guy causes problems. He is a problem. And today, Celtic didn't have a problem solver. They were without multiple key players. That didn't matter. Look, they still had a lot of first-team players in there. And they still had their best midfield trio of McGregor, Hatate and O'Reilly, and it didn't mean shit because Rangers dominated the game, but we'll talk more about it when we get there. There were some other big games in the league. Well, I mean, pretty much every game's a big game from this point onwards. You had Hibs taking on Aberdeen, Hibs needing to win in order to try and catch Aberdeen for that third spot and that guaranteed European group stage spot. Did they do it? No, because Kevin Nisbet couldn't score a penalty. So there you go, Kevin Nisbet, Nizzy, a guy with so many goals, couldn't get a goal when it mattered. VAR was an absolute disaster in Paisley. St Mirren got a 2-2 draw with Hearts, but they threw away a 2-goal lead, so, I mean, they'll be disappointed, but I also think Hearts will be disappointed, because they had a great chance today to catch Aberdeen, and they didn't take it, but VAR with two massive mistakes, and again, we'll cover that when we get to the Hearts-St Mirren match. Motherwell continuing to do what Motherwell does. Stuart Kettlewell says it's going to take a record amount of money to lure Kevin Van Veen away from Motherwell. And maybe he's got a point, because Kevin Van Veen just cannot stop scoring. I don't know what's happening with the guy. I think you could actually take an axe and cut off both his legs, and he would still score next week, man. The guy's a goal-scoring machine. So Motherwell, I think easily, I predicted at the start of the split that they would finish best of the rest, and in my opinion now, there's nothing going to stop them. Livingston are in free fall. And speaking of Livingston today, I can't even remember what Livingston done. I think they lost to Kilmarnock. Kilmarnock at home, you'd expect them to beat Livy. They did. And of course, Dundee United, who were looking so good when Jim Goodwin originally came in. You know, the first couple of games, the performances were decent, but he didn't get the results. And then all of a sudden, Jim Goodwin started getting wins. He started moving Dundee United up the table. And I think most people thought, you know what, Dundee United are not going to go down now. Dundee United are going to be safe. Dundee United are going to be alright. But no, after 2 defeats in a row, all of a sudden, they find themselves bottom of the table. Although my prediction, I said it about 10 games ago, and I still stand by it, guys. I'm not changing. I think St Johnstone are going to finish last. And I know they've got a 5-point gap over Dundee United, but I'm going to stick by it. I actually think St Johnstone will be the team to go down. But we'll cover all that stuff in about 5 minutes' time. Let's have a quick look, though, at the playoffs, because it's interesting to know who's going to be coming up, who's going to be going down, and who's just going to be staying where they are. Now, I was going to call this the big one. It's not really the big one. It's a small one in comparison, but it's pretty big in terms of either you're going to be in the pyramid or you're not going to be in the pyramid. So a spot in Scottish League 2 is on the line here. And it's Spartans versus Albion Rovers. And Spartans are trying to obviously get up. Albion Rovers do not want to drop out of League 2. It's a 1-1 draw in the first leg. I mean, the tie is perfectly placed now for the second leg. I would like to see the new blood of Spartans in the league. I still think this one could go either way. In my opinion, it's close to 50-50. What I will say is, I think Albion Rovers need to win this, because I've got a feeling that if Albion Rovers do go down, they ain't going to be one of these teams that can back up. And I think you can actually say that about a lot of teams in League 2. I think a lot of teams in League 2 have got complacent, and they've literally just survived in Scotland due to the fact there was no relegation from League Two. A lot of these teams now, in my opinion, with the promotion and relegation from League Two to either the Highland or Lowland League, I think a lot of these teams that drop out of the pyramid will never be seen again. And I think Albion Rovers could be one of those teams. So Albion Rovers have got their SPFL, career essentially on the line in the next tie against Spartans. I'm going to go with Spartans to get the win in the second leg. I think they will just about narrowly edge it, but it's going to be close either way. Scottish League 1. Dumbarton, Arran Athletic. It was 0-0 on aggregate. Well, it was 0-0 in today's game, but in aggregate, Arran Athletic with a 6-0 win the last time they played. So let's actually check that. When did they play? Was it last week? I think it was last week. So it was, I don't know when it was, but Arran Athletic beating Dumbarton. To me, that was a shocker. I actually predicted that Dumbarton would actually go up, and I thought Dumbarton would win out of these, 4 teams. I thought Dumbarton would get the promotion and go into League 1, but it didn't happen. Clyde last night beat East Fife in extra time, so they went through 2-1 in aggregate. So now it's going to be Clyde against Arran Athletic. Clyde are in League 1. If they beat Arran, they stay in League 1. Arran are in League 2, and if they beat Clyde, they go up. So it's going to be a shootout. A shootout? What? A shootout between them. Let's move into the Scottish Championship then. Airdrieonians with a big 7-2 aggregate scoreline. I actually grew up in Airdrie, so I would prefer Airdrie to go up. I do keep a wee eye out on their scoreline, so I do. I wouldn't say I follow Airdrie by any means, but I keep an eye out on Airdrie, and I used to do the odd Airdrie Football Manager save back before the YouTube days. I used to maybe go Airdrie and see if I could make them any good, but that never really happened. 7-2 win over Falkirk though. I expected Airdrie to beat Falkirk. I didn't think it would be by this much. I don't think anybody expected that aggregate scoreline, but Airdrie, I think, have been the form team outside of Dunfermline in League 1 for the past 3 months now, and I think Airdrie will be in the Championship next season. I cannot see them being stopped. The team that's going to try and stop them will be Hamilton Academical. And Hamilton, I thought, were extremely lucky against Alloa Athletic. Alloa won the opening game in Leg 1. They were 2-0 up in this Leg 2. So 3-0 in aggregate before getting a man sent off. They went down to 10 men, and then they just kind of fell apart, and Hamilton ended up winning and scoring 5 goals in a row. So yeah, I think Hamilton very fortunate that Alloa went down to 10 men. Otherwise, I think Alloa would have seen this game out. So it sucks for them, but it's going to be Hamilton versus Airdrie for a spot in the Championship. So yeah, there you go. Airdrie, Hamilton, who is it going to be? There was no Premier League playoff, but we do know it's going to be Partick Thistle versus Ayr United, and the winner of those 2 ties obviously will take on the 11th place team in the Premiership, so I'm not too sure who that's going to be. I haven't made a prediction. I think St John's will be last. I think 11th is going to be, and I've got a funny feeling it could be Kilmarnock. It could be Dundee United. I don't know. We'll cover that when we get to that, guys. That's making me think on the spot here. I don't have time for that shit. Let's move on, though, to the Scottish Premiership. I've done enough thinking today. We'll start with the big game. They're the kick-off. Rangers versus Celtic. Celtic fans will claim this doesn't matter, but, that's bullshit. If Celtic won this game, their fans would have been bragging. Their fans would have been going, oh, we didn't lose to Rangers all season. Even when the league's won, we're still winning. We're still beating Rangers. So let's not pretend like this game didn't matter. It did matter. Now, did it matter as much as the previous one or the cup game? Probably not, but it still mattered. And Ange Postecoglou and Celtic would have wanted to win this game. They didn't win it, though. Rangers won it. And I don't think you can have any excuses. I think you've got to be honest here, right? Celtic have been better than Rangers for the past 2 seasons, no doubt about that. Rangers had that one season where they did win league, and apart from that, Celtic have dominated Rangers for the past decade. And more often than not, Celtic play better in the Old Firm derbies. It is what it is. We've seen during the Rodgers era where they would win so many games by 5-1, 4-0. They used to scud Rangers, and a lot of times people would admit, yeah, Celtic were the better side. So I think we should just admit today that Rangers were the better side, and Rangers dominated this game from start to finish. And I think 3-0. I think Celtic are lucky at 3-0. I do. I think Rangers could have won by an extra couple of goals. So Big win for Rangers. It was Todd Cantwell getting the opening goal. And I think this just proves that Joe Hart is overrated, man. I say it all the time, but I mean, Joe Hart keeps the most clean sheets in the league, but that's because Celtic are the best team in the league and Celtic have the best defence in the league. It's not because Joe Hart's the best goalkeeper. He's not. If you put Joe Hart under pressure, if you create chances, Joe Hart will fold. And he did. He folded today. And that scoreline proves it. So for me, Joe Hart is overrated. And I think Joe Hart has been stealing a career. I genuinely believe that. The guy isn't that good. He doesn't deserve to win the Team of the Year. He's the best goalkeeper by default, technically, because he doesn't have to do anything because the Celtic defence is so good. It's that simple. So for me, that's me praising Celtic. I think Carter Vickers is phenomenal. Carter Vickers arguably the best player in the league. There's no doubt about that. He's a great player, great defender. And they missed him today. 100% they missed him. I'm not saying Celtic would have won though with Carter Vickers, because I think the midfield was dominated by Rangers, and Celtic can't have any excuses because they had their best midfield free in the middle of the park. Cal McGregor today, one of the worst games I've seen him play. So, yeah, I don't think you can use that as an excuse, because they had probably the most important area of the entire team. They had their best three players in that position. And they got beat. So, that's what it is. Rangers won. Does it mean anything? No. Does it mean that Rangers are going to go and win the title next season? No. But it's still an important game. And it's, I think it's important for Michael Beale. Because if he'd have lost this, it would have been 4 defeats in a row, I believe, to Celtic, which is the last thing he needed. So, it's good. It's not going to win Rangers League. It reduces the gap to 10 points, but it gets Michael Beale confidence. It gets Michael Beale believing that he can actually beat Celtic and he can beat Ange in these big games. So big win there for Rangers, even though in terms of titles and league position it's not going to do anything. In terms of confidence to Rangers, it will do a lot. Might not mean that much to Celtic, but to Rangers it will mean a lot. Aberdeen drew 0-0 away Hibernian. Really, really poor game here. Watched the highlights of it. Kevin Nisbet had a chance. It would have been a big, big win for Hibs had he got it. This was like the 40-year celebration of Sir Alex Ferguson. Aberdeen just didn't really turn up for one reason or another today. They weren't any good. Not too sure why. They just sucked. Hibernian should have won, but, they couldn't score. And if you can't score, you don't win, guys. It's that simple, really. So, yeah, Hibernian had a big, big chance here to win and catch Aberdeen in the battle for third, but they didn't do it. Dundee United 1, Ross County 3. Massive win for Ross County. You feel like Dundee United, had they won this, it would have put a bit of daylight between the two teams, and I'm sure the Tannadice crowd were not happy at losing this match, and all of a sudden Jim Goodwin is looking over his shoulder. Well, he's not really looking over his shoulder because everyone's in front of him, but he's looking in front of him and he's worried. He must be worried because Ross County have come back from the dead and all of a sudden they've given themselves a real good chance of staying up. But I did say that. Look, I think Malcolm Mackay is too good a manager to take Ross County down. I see Ross County staying up. I still think it's St Johnstone that's going down. That's my opinion. But it's not going to be Ross County. They're too good. Kilmarnock 2, Livingston 0. Speaking of being too good, Livingston definitely cannot be accused of that. They are garbage. And I like Davy Martindale, but Livy are fucking shite. And, I don't think he's in any danger of getting fired. It would be an abysmal decision if they fired Martindale. Can they even afford to fire him? Probably not, but if they fired Davy Martindale, that'd be like 50% less people in the fucking stadium next year. So, they're not going to fire Davy Martindale, but it's a horrendous run. The only thing Livy can hope is that they've just switched off this season, and when next season starts, they get back to their usual ways, but the way Livy are playing right now, man, it is not good. Speaking of a team not playing good, St Johnstone, I know they got an important win, was it 2 weeks ago? They got a big, big victory over Dundee United, which I think it might have been last week or was it 2 weeks ago? I can't remember. Either way, that was a big win. And I think if they didn't get that win, they'd have been in real trouble. Now, they're still not safe at all, they can still be caught, but had they not beat Dundee United, they would have been in deep, deep shit. So, Motherwell, another massive win today. Kevin Van Veen scoring again, does what he does. Kevin Van Veen on fire. And, will he be there next year at Motherwell? I think someone should come in and put a bid in for him. But the problem is, at 32 and a year left on your contract, you're just not going to get that big money, You're just not going to get it. It's unfortunate, but Motherwell, I think if Motherwell could get 500,000, they'd be doing well. Let's be honest. Hibernian got 500,000 for Porteous, who's young, very young. Look at Suter. Hearts were offered, Rangers offered 400,000 for Suter when he had 6 months left on his contract. Suter's young, and, they refused that. So, Kevin Van Veen, Motherwell won't expect millions. They ain't going to get millions. I think if they could get $1 million, that would be really, really good for them. But We'll see what happens. And last but not least, guys, in Paisley, St Mirren 2, Hearts 2. Where do we start with this game? St Mirren taking the lead, clusterfuck of a goal, Joe Shaughnessy getting it in, defending was poor, then we got Ryan Strain hitting a free kick in, Sander Clark. I think Sander Clark should just chop his hands off, to be honest, because if you ain't capable of saving this, you don't deserve hands. This was an easy free kick to save, he didn't do it. We get into the second half, Hearts pulled one back through Ginelli to make it 2-1, and then the big moment, the first big moment, VAR gives Haring a red card for a tackle that is clear and obviously a yellow. It was not a red, it was 100% a yellow, but they gave the red. They went to VAR, and VAR didn't overturn it, which is astonishing because this was a yellow card all day long, but VAR kept the referee's decision, and then late in the game at 2-1, Ginelli's running away from goal, he gets touched in the back, he goes down in the penalty box, and the referee awards a penalty, and it's like one of the softest penalties I've ever seen. And here's me being honest for a Hearts fan, this wasn't a penalty, but VAR went to check it, and it stood. Shankland was standing on the penalties box with the ball ready to take it, and I'm thinking, Shankland, just give them that ball back, because you ain't getting this. This is a free kick to St Mirren, this is not going to be given. This is simulation, practically. But no, they gave the penalty. Shankland scored it 2-2, so big chance for Hearts to catch Aberdeen, gone. Big chance for St Mirren to win and, catch the teams above them and try and get into those European spots, gone. So, yeah, 2-2 draw doesn't really help anybody there, guys. And that is it for the results. Now we look at the league table. Celtic, as we know, are champions, but today was supposed to be the big day where they celebrate. Oh, we're not going to get a guard of honour, but we don't need that guard of honour because we're going to celebrate anyway. Well, they've got nothing to celebrate. I mean, they're still going to win the league, but today definitely put a sour note on that. Aberdeen remain in third place with their 5-point gap over Hearts intact, and honestly, you can't really see Aberdeen throwing this away now. You can't see it. For Hibs or Hearts to catch Aberdeen, it's going to, Hibs, I just don't see how Hibs do it. Hibs have still to play both Old Firm teams. They're 6 behind. Hearts, I think, are the only realistic team that can do it, but even then, it will probably require beating Rangers, and that's going to be difficult. So, I don't see it happening. St Mirren have still to play both Old Firm teams. Now, we know they beat Celtic, we know they've drawn against Rangers, but I just don't think their form's that good at the moment. I don't think St Mirren can catch the teams ahead of them. I think the top 5 teams, the biggest 5 teams in the country are the way it's going to finish. It's going to be Celtic, Rangers, Aberdeen, Hearts and Hibs. And who knows? Maybe we can do something good next year as a country in Europe with those 5 teams, because that is the 5 biggest teams. And if we want to be good in Europe, we want to be pushing this coefficient up and being a threat and making Scotland a credible force in European football competitions, then you probably need your best teams to be qualifying for the European spots, and this is the best 5 teams. But keep in mind, Inverness, Caledonian Thistle will still have something to say about that. If they win the cup, then they knock out the 5th place team and they get the European spot, and of course they get the group stage. So Aberdeen would effectively drop from 3rd to 4th, and Hearts would drop from 4th to 5th, and Hibernian, their ass would just drop, and they would drop off the face of the earth. That's how that works. Motherwell and Livingston are in a battle for 7th place that nobody really cares about. We've got St Johnstone in 9th, who I still think can get dragged into this relegation battle. Kelly on 34 points, Ross County on 33, and Dundee United on 12. When Dundee United won those 3 games in a row, they must have thought they were safe, but now they've lost 2 in a row. They've seen both Kelly and County pick up 2 wins at their last 3 games, so all of a sudden, form has went against Dundee United, and the teams they were battling with have kind of found some form. So it's going to be very close, guys, as we come down to this battle. I'm looking forward to it. The next 3 weeks of 2 weeks. Yeah, we're finishing the season in 2 weeks, then of course we've got the Scottish Cup after that. So yeah, lots of football to be played. I'm looking excited to it. But for now, guys, that's it. I'll catch you in the next one. Make sure you leave a like, comment and subscribe. Fog Football. Peace out.